Hi, my name is Jackie Bryan, and this is my performance-based project for EDU 513, Models of Teaching. The model I've chosen for the lesson is Madeline Hunter's Instructional Theory into Practice. The content is Grade 2, Language Arts and Social Studies. The standards are Government, Civic Participation and Skills, and English Language Arts, Literacy, Reading, and Writing. The strategies I've included are setting objectives and providing feedback, cues, questions, and advanced organizers, identifying similarities and differences, non-linguistic representations, and cooperative learning. Madeline Hunter's model calls for 3 categories: the content, what the students are going to learn, the learner behaviors, what they're going to do to learn it, and the teacher behaviors, how I'm going to help them. There are also 7 elements to consider in your planning. I've gone through most of them and highlighted them on the slides of which one they do align with. This lesson represents instruction that will take place and build over several mini-lessons and activities based upon the children's book, Boxes for Katje. Our students have participated in several community service projects this school year by collecting food, mittens, and box tops. However, most of them simply bring items to school given by their parents, and they do not have an understanding of why or how they're helping others. It is the intention of the lesson to provide students with a real-world understanding that people are often in need, and even children have the power to affect change. Boxes for Katje is a historical fiction work by Candace Fleming based upon things that have happened in her mother's life after World War II. There's little left in Katje's town of Olst in Holland. Her family, like most Dutch families, must go without soap and milk, must patch and repair their old worn clothing. Then one spring morning, when the tulips bloom thick and bright, Postman Kleinhoen pedals his bicycle down Katje's cobbled street to deliver a mysterious box from the land of plenty, America. Boxes for Katje could be used for a variety of themes and uses in classrooms from elementary to early middle school. There's the World War II connection and looking at life after the war in Europe and the United States. There's a whole lot of figurative language that builds vocabulary, and the illustrations and the work themselves of how it's put together seem to give a broad interest. Instruction that's occurred prior to this lesson is the strategies and structures that are already in place in our classroom, the foundations for ongoing instruction. We have our anchor charts for reading, writing, working in groups, and using technology. In this case, we'll also look at our scrapbook and photos of previous school service projects so that we can get our heads around where we're headed. At the onset of the lesson, we need to give that objective. I like to restate learning targets in narrative form. I think it takes the impersonal I can statement and really lets everyone connect with what we're going to do. In this case, after reading Boxes for Katje, we will compare how the characters helped each other. Then we will brainstorm ways we can help others. Finally, we will use web tools to share our ideas for future service projects. I think this statement really lets the children and me know what are we going to do, and afterwards we can reflect to see, did we do it? I'll start with a video that I found. It's 2 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and include this with my presentation because I think it's a 2 minutes worth watching. That video always puts me in a mood to go do something nice for someone. Once we're done with that, we're going to preview the story through a picture walk, looking at things of why are there notes and letters in those illustrations? When and where might this story take place, and what are all those packages for? Prior to beginning our reading, we'll complete an anticipation guide. I've created this one to have a few specific questions about the book, but also trying to get the students to think a little deeper on what the purpose of the book is. There's some details such as noticing the people in Katje's town were very poor, or that the people in Katje's town did not have cars. But what I want them to really think about is questioning this. It's too hard to help people that live far away, or you have to be rich to show kindness. I'm hoping their before and after answers change. We're ready to start our first read aloud. While we're completing our anticipation guide after the reading, or even throughout if they want, we also have questioning to include. I have a really nice organizer I found that allows question stems that are more broad-based. They can be generalized into a lot of different stories, but are perfect in this one. For example, when you're understanding, it's so easy to look at describe what, or if you were there, would you? What things are similar and different? Which character would you like to meet? Or tell or write a different ending? This organizer, I think, could be used for many different stories, and what I like about it is that working with elementary students, it's important to help them build in their head different questions that they can ask while they're reading a variety of books. Some examples I came up with were telling an example of how Katje was able to help her town. What clues in the story help you know the season it began in? Or which package do you feel was the best and why? Our second read aloud could be done in small group with partners using a listening center. It would depend on how things are going for the students. Are they reading it well? For some of the students that need to go back and take things at a slower pace, sometimes the listening center is best. They can stop and start as they need to respond to questions or clarify something for themselves. Once we're done with that, we'll reflect on the people and details of who helped or were helped in the story. This graphic organizer is based, I did it thematic alerting with the tulip theme in Holland in the book. What I'm going to look for students to do, and we'll start this together on the whiteboard and then let them go from there. Rosie and Katje have their boxes and their tulips to put some ideas of things they did to help. For example, Rosie helped strangers and Katje helped the people in her town. Rosie was able to, she had plenty of food to share and Katje didn't have any. We're just going to kind of look and see how that evolves. It can end up in a lot of different ways. One thing I know as a teacher and one thing I live by is the rule I learned when I first started college was always be flexible. Our final reading of the story will include the Reading Rainbow video that features the story Boxes for Katje. We don't have time to go into it now, but I did include an active link for you if you get a chance to go back and view it later. In the video, first they use the story, but then they highlight two children's groups that are helping children around the world. One group of students is creating and collecting things for backyard boxes that they're sending to families and children in after Hurricane Katrina. The other group meets at their school as part of a global networking group. They have a sleepover at their school, and at different times throughout the night, their teacher wakes them up and they go online for webcasts and conversations with students all around the world in their time differences. It's really interesting to see, and I'm certain that the kids will get a lot of ideas of how easy it is to help others today. We'll also probably work on a Venn diagram. I included this resource as one that anyone could use, and I find it really simple. It's classtools.net. What I like about it is you don't have to do anything. You just register for free, and you could do anything you want on your whiteboard. It lets you add right into it. We'd go ahead and add Rosie and Katja as our two areas, depending on what we decide to talk about. If it's the historical work or for what they're doing today of helping, would be how Rosie helped strangers and Katja helped her town. Both girls wrote letters, and both girls sent and received boxes. What's nice here is you can save it, you can print it, you can use it on your whiteboard, you can do a lot of different things. Sometimes it's great to be able to start it and then print parts of it for the students to complete later. We're to the point now where if we can make a difference. We're going to work together and brainstorm ways that we can help. Once again, we'll start with an organizer on the whiteboard and let the kids go from there depending on the day. What I'm looking for is for them to tell me that they can help. How can I help? For second graders, it makes it easier to highlight those WH questions. Who will they help? What? When? Where? Why? And how? Are they going to help puppies, children in hospitals, or children in China? What are they going to do? Is it something they have to plan for because it's at Christmas time? Why do they want to help? They're going to use this information when it's time to complete their assessment. They're going to write about it. If you're looking for some apps and ideas of different technology you can use in your classroom, I suggest looking at Kathy Schrock's guides. She includes tons of information on Bloom, and right now she's been updating a list with apps that support iPads, Android, Windows, and Google. It's a great resource if you haven't visited it before. Using that, and of course you're going to have to use the apps and the programs that you have in your school, but it's always great to look for new things. The students will use a basic 3-star rubric for this project, and I just titled it, Let Me Tell You How I Can Help Others. They're going to tell me, what they're supposed to do is tell me what did they decide they're going to do to help. They can write a letter, they can make a poster, they can do a service announcement, they can do pretty much anything that they can based on a web tool. But what they do have to do is include the who, where, why, and what. As long as they include those elements, they'll be just fine. And it's very clear. I did not tell who I would help, or I clearly stated who I would help. Same thing as why and what. Once they've gotten that part down, I just want to know, did they use the web tools? Or did they use them but not ask for help? Did they remember to ask for help? Because that's what we're there for, and that's how we learn. Beyond that, I'm looking for what kind of mistakes and how neat was their project. At this point, that's really what I'm looking for. They're young. If they can incorporate just this information, I'll be thrilled. Finally, we're going to reflect on how we did. Questions that I was thinking of right away that I'm going to think about are, were the students able to relate to the theme and expectations? Did we make connections to the learning targets? Were the strategies effective? Were they identifiable? What other content could I use with this book? And what other resources could expand the content for integration? And we all know there'll be a million more ideas after that. Here's some of the references that I included in case you want to look for the videos or some of the other things throughout the presentation. I hope you've enjoyed what our lesson's going to look like, and I'm looking forward to being able to use this lesson at some point. Thank you very much.